So, as a lot of you already know, we have branched out of Family Court Superheroes. Our initial aim was just to focus on the forms, opening up the judicial inquiries and making sure that all of the people in all of the groups filled in a form to help us collate the sheer volumes of people that have complained and the sheer number of issues that are within the social services, the judicial system itself, CAFCAS, and that's why we urge anyone to fill in a form at www.familycourtsuperheroes.com. Without that body of evidence that we've created ourselves, then we have nothing to prove that the system is broken. And it's as simple as that. We can all talk, we can all stand on street corners, but we need those forms. Now, that was our main objective. Now, as a lot of people have seen with Family Court Superheroes, we now have the support page. And that's because whilst I was doing the awareness and interviewing people, which I haven't stopped, by the way, it's just that I get silencing and gagging orders. And a lot of these people, even though they've come out of the court system, they are still being persecuted for speaking out about proven wrongdoing. And a diversion, a way of doing that is to come through me. So I'm having to be more careful in what I do because I'm now part of a much bigger thing than I was even anticipating, and I think anyone else was. But it's still prevalent. And in this is the awareness of abuse and what people are suffering emotionally and mentally. And we couldn't turn a blind eye to that because that's exactly what the system has done. It's turned a blind eye to human emotion. So the Family Court Superheroes support has taken up a lot more time, which does kind of take away from writing the policy. Not that Amy hasn't been ploughing ahead with all of everything anyway, and we still haven't been working tirelessly. But there are things that pop up, and I don't think anyone knows, I'm going to get emotional doing this, how hard it can be sometimes. God, I'm going to get emotional. Hearing people's stories. Now, when I first started, it was adults that were reaching out, dads, mums, saying they were alienated, or the social services, can you help? They've taken our children, risk of future harm, there isn't any problem with the parenting assessment, help, 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 we're in crisis, we're going through grief, and we helped them. And it was working, just talking to people, just having people understanding. Now, there was a campaign which I can't mention because of legal reasons, and that highlighted the prevalent issue that actually there are children in the care system that are speaking out. And obviously I can't publicly talk with active cases that are going on, but there is one letter that I've received. Now, obviously, with certain individuals, and I understand this, when you've been in a care system and the way that you communicate is letterbox contact with the people that you love, it can be very difficult just to talk to people honestly when you've been dealing with social services your whole life. And that's why it's interesting speaking to the children that are coming out of this, because it's how they've been treated. We spend a lot of time speaking to the parents, but the byproduct of the parents' pain is the absolute devastation of that child's life. Not only has their childhood been taken away, their family, their culture, their existence, but a lot more. I'm going to read you a letter that I was sent, because this is how this young man communicates with me. So we are now a couple of letters in, and I think he just likes having someone to talk to. He's used to letterbox contact, and I understand that. And it's his way of communicating. Now, I have asked him in my last correspondence, because he's getting, more confident in himself, which is great. And he's accessing help, which no one else has put in place for him, I might hasten to add. But I'm going to read you the first letter that I got from him without trying to cry. Hey, my name's Jack. I'm 18 years old. I've had dole's orders put on me since I was 15. I've got no education whatsoever. I've moved between Somerset, the Vale of Glamorgan and Devon Social Services all of my life. I've had the same managers. I've never been to a court of law, and I've never been heard. I self-harm. I've attempted suicide 3 times and been hospitalised. I have an eating disorder, and my dad hung himself when I was in care. They didn't tell me nothing till I was 14. He died when I was 12. I never got told nothing. I didn't get to go to his funeral, and I never got to grieve with anyone. I don't want kids. The idea scares me. I'm so lonely though. I have been put in a house share, but I think that the other people are ex-offenders and some are nonces. I can't make a roast dinner or get a job. I've got no family and I'm totally alone. Please, can you help me? I've been placed up north and I don't know no one, and I'm scared to leave my room because of the colour of my skin. If this is my newfound freedom, I'm still trapped. I don't know what to do. Thanks, Jack. So I've been corresponding with Jack back and forth a few times. God, it still gets me, that letter. Jack's in a much better place now. But the thing that really worries me and upsets me is Jack isn't the only person. He's obviously given me permission to talk about him. But Jack isn't the only child. And Jack's now an adult. So he's technically got his life and his freedom. And it's learning to live with that freedom and not being told what to do or how to do it. And he hasn't really been instructed. He has had no parenting from the state. So why are the state taking our children? If you have been raised by the state, you are already targeted by the state. If the state are so good at parenting and the judges know so much about the decisions they're making for the greater good and safeguarding, we need to take into account emotional safeguarding. If they say there's risk of future harm, Tony Blair, if that is the case, then what fucking harm is the system doing to these children? No, let's forget the parents now. It's not about parents anymore for me. And I've said this I don't care. Pink, blue, black, white, don't care. It's the kids. And we think it's hurting us, but they don't know anything. They're not told anything. All they're told is something third hand through a social worker. They could be told that their parents don't want them. Not that their parents are being wasted in the courts, being told they can't have appeals, being silenced, gagging orders putting on them for them trying to find their children, being told that they're dangerous for trying to locate their own children. And those children aren't told that. They're told that their parents are dangerous. They're told all the stuff in the paperwork that's a lie, fabricated induced illness. Your mum used to take you to the doctors all the time. Or your mum's an alcoholic because someone accused her of being an alcoholic even though she passed 7 drug tests. They get that file and then they go and meet their actual parent and they see the truth. Do you not think that that messes those children up even more? Shouldn't there not be an accountability to the lies that are told in the family court system in order to manipulate the children into care in the first place? Because you don't care about the children's well-being. It is evident. Like I said, Jack is one. Now, what Jack has agreed to, because he has friends that have been in the care system, a lot of times, though, he's had his mobile taken of this boy. They lived in a foster placement. He said they felt like brothers. And then one day, they were getting on really well at the same school. He actually felt that he, had a chance. He was in the school. They moved him. And everyone talks about, but he moved to a different local authority. He's had the same managers. This happens quite a lot. And something else that I've discovered about Jack with the same manager, because this happens quite a lot, is he was sexually abused. And he got taken out of education the second that he made disclosures. There are more and more children making disclosures about sexual abuse in fostering and adoptive care. There are more and more children openly telling police officers and social workers that are then filing NFA saying the children are mentally messed up. They'll say anything. That really pisses me off. It really pisses me off. And I wasn't expecting to be ranting for 9 minutes and 20 seconds, but I'm not going to read out Jack's letter from today because I will be bawling my eyes out. But he's come a long way and it's positive. And I'm really, really pleased that there are kids speaking out. But Jack, he is terrified. Well, he's less terrified now, but he was terrified because he's had deprivation of liberties orders put on him as a child, because he kept on begging to go and find out where his mum was. My mum was always really kind to me. He said, my mum was always really nice. My mum was the kind of mum that had dinner on the table when you walked in. There was, warm pyjamas in front of the fire. She was a lovely mum. She never did anything wrong. That's his memories. He says he cannot remember why. He's never been told why he was taken into care, and in the first 2 weeks of him being in a foster placement, he was sexually abused. And then when he told someone in school that he was sexually abused, then his friends were taken away, he was moved to another placement, and he was sexually abused again. And when he told his social worker he was sexually abused, that social worker disappeared, and that same manager gave him a new social worker, knowing, obviously, and he was put into another placement where he was sexually abused. Is this the system that you all signed up for? Is this the system that you're all still willing to pay for? Is this the education system that you're all turning a blind eye to that was created in Israel? There's more and more coming out about politicians, and there's more and more people speaking out. Now, if 1 in 3 people have suffered, seen, witnessed abuse in the UK, then that means 1 in 3 people, that's even the people at the top. And I'm a nosy bugger. And I'm looking at these private schools, and I know a few private schools where a few matrons have been done for sexual abuse. Eton. There's another big boys' school, which I am going to be doing a story about soon because I think it's phenomenal. The amount of sexual offenders that have been at this private school that were abused themselves at the private school. Their parents paid £30,000 a year, 10 grand a term for them to go to the best educated school where they would learn and be groomed, basically, and then learn how to groom as they get older. Why? Because it sets them into the elite. Do all of those people that were abused when they were younger actually think what they're doing is right? If 1 in 3 people have been abused in the United Kingdom, then that's 1 in 3 people in every walk of life. There are ladies and lords, there are politicians and MPs that are keeping tight-lipped because they don't want to admit that they're survivors of abuse. Well, that abuse that you are keeping tight-lipped about that happened to you, I feel sorry for you. But you're now allowing other children to suffer in the same system because you won't put your neck on the line and say, yeah, this does need to stop. We need to stop abusing children for profit. And if you're not willing to say it, then I'll keep saying it, but I will keep collecting the evidence as well. And it's all being compiled in a dossier that on November the 5th, if every single person can join us, we're going to walk through London and deliver our demands to Parliament. And we're going to create the body of evidence, and it's going to be legitimate. And there's enough of us, and there's enough really stupidly intelligent people that are already writing amazing works, amazing things, you know, for nothing. They're not being paid £150,000 a year to sort out the social services in Somerset since 2015 and not done anything. In fact, elicited more sex trafficking. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Same judges in all the cases as well. So, what are we going to do? I'll tell you what you're all going to do. You're going to write to your MP and you're going to demand as their constituent that pays their wages that they are going to walk with us on November the 5th for social reform, to end forced adoption, to make sure that fostering is the last possible choice before kinship care, to ensure that grandparents, mothers, fathers, but more importantly, children have their human rights upheld and they're not treated as battens for the social security, for the legals, and for the judges to make a shitload of money out of. And the thing is, everyone's seeing it now. We're sharing stuff. We're sharing the huge volumes of numbers, the huge amounts of money that is being created. It's not a lie. Anyone can see it. If you've got a social work manager, if you want any names of any managers, give me a private call and you can go on to Companies House and you can find out their private registered limited companies. Now, the reason social workers have these limited companies, which I think there's a little bit of a grey area on this. The reason why social workers have limited companies is it means that they can take dividends and bonuses into those limited companies without it affecting their gross wages or the tax that they earn, because they get a lot of money anyway per year. So therefore it stops the amount of tax, and it means they can get as many bonuses and incentivised bonuses as possible. Now, the reason why they incentivise adoption, which if you weren't to know anything about the system and someone said to you, look, this child has bonded with this family, and you see 2 foster parents with a really happy toddler, And this poor toddler needs permanency. And because it doesn't have that permanency and they can't get the adoption, its parents don't want it, that's what they're told, then this poor child's missing out on their right to a family life. So they use the Human Rights Act to try and make this look better. No, okay? We've seen it doesn't work. It failed. It's failing massively. It allows 46% of adopted children to be abused, sexually abused. Okay? We shouldn't be allowing adoption to be as easy as it is. It should be really hard. It should be harder than it is. Really, really hard. And we shouldn't be separating siblings. It's fucking bonkers. Why can you leave two children that the mother has raised for like 15 years, 13 years, that are still alive, say the mum's really nice? We're not going to really get near them, are we? We'll take the non-verbal. It's not a pick and mix. They're siblings. They, as the children, have more rights to be together than anybody else. So that needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed. We need to ensure that siblings have rights. I know grandparents are talking at the moment about what their rights are and how, hopefully with a push of kinship orders, they should get more rights. Under the Children and Families Act, that was just created again in 2014 to help force adoption. It shouldn't have been. The Children and Families Act should have been a promotion of the kinship order, in my mind. That's what they should have done. But no. There's always alternatives. And every single time that these forced adoptions goes through, they don't give time for other people to have assessments or to do anything about it. And that is a scary statistic. If you think of all the grandparents that are missing their children, in the grandparents I've spoken to, not one grandparent has had an assessment. Not one. That's scary. That's scary. The grandparents haven't even been considered. They're mourning for the loss of their child, their grandchild. They have not even been considered. They have not even been asked. Aunts, uncles, family friends, none of them have been asked. None. And when you think that it's not possible that your child could be taken from school while you're in court for the first time on a risk of future harm past all the assessments, it has, and it does happen every single day. And if you think as well that at 37 weeks it would be grossly inhumane to use the police to knock down a woman's door, put handcuffs on her, push her with her 37-week pregnant bump to the floor, possibly damaging the child in the process and the mother, throwing them into the back of the police car, sedating them, then cutting the baby out of them and then dragging them to court without even letting them see the baby, that happens quite frequently. Lots of mothers are induced into labour with police there and social workers so they can take the baby off them. Drug and alcohol-free mothers. This is the country you live in, guys, and this is what you all allow day in, day out. And yeah, okay, I know a lot of people think I might be a little bit angry, but I think if anybody was getting letters or the volume of correspondence that we get every single day, and it's happening, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And the more that these groups are popping up, you'd think it would be getting better. It's not. It's getting far, far, far worse. They're going to try and make as much money as they possibly can. And there's going to be a real push. In the next 10 to 12 weeks, there's going to be a real push. Especially with social workers being put into schools, there is going to be more people on child protection plans. There is going to be more children, more parents accused of FII. More children that like to get muddy in school. They're not going to look at them as they come into school. They're going to look at them dishevelled at the end of school. And they're going to use your child when it's in school getting messy as a punishment to you. Enough to take children away. There used to be a time when we used to think that grubby knees and rosy cheeks were a sign of a healthy child. Now it's a sign of a child that has got a stamp on its head that says target for social worker. Not that it's not fed, not that it's not clothed, not that it's not loved. Oh, no. You see, with a crystal ball, you can look into the future and tell by that dishevelled child playing at school with its mates, probably doing rough and tumble, getting in the sandpit and not dusting itself off. That social worker's seen a polarised moment of their life and they can make a decision on your life. that quickly. And now that all the children are going back into schools, and now that we have this urge for 98% parental slope, this is the other thing that none of you seem to be up to date on, is from September, when our children went back, the school have 98% of your parental responsibility. You've only got 2%. So you don't have to really phone for your permission with anything anymore. I think they oblige correspondence to you. You've got to put things in place. If you don't, you've got to really, and you've got to use the right words. If you don't want to have the RSE education, if you don't want to have the jab, all the policies and procedures that are put in place now means that the school, while your child is in school, they are contractually obligated to do the wants and wills of central government. So, I know people keep saying, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They said that about the RSE education based on the Kinsey report, which is a paedophiles report on how to abuse children, where data is still being collected today. Speak to the Welsh about that. Raise some money for them. Why don't you help? But yeah, I'm going to stop ranting now, because I could go on for hours and hours about how sad it is that people keep on turning up to all these rallies. Llamas and makeup, that's a big one. People love talking about, animal rights. A baby's not more important than... I love puppies, I love animals, but is humanity just not important anymore? Have we been so dumbed down and so split up and so easy to control that we just don't think anything about life being sacred, and that those little souls are broken, and that no one's doing anything, and that 18-year-old men, because he's a man now, has had no parenting whatsoever, and now he's out in the big bad world and he feels pretty shit. Does no one care that that's happening again and again and again and again and again and again, and all the children that are being taken today, tomorrow, the day after are going to be Jack? That scares the shit out of me. But anyway, off to fight another day. Have a good one. Make sure that you contact your MP. Make sure that you fill in the form for reform. Make sure that you support all of the groups. Make sure you spread as much love, but also make sure you share the stuff that's in the groups outside into the mainstream. Normal people need to know so we can protect their children. Okay, they're not ignorant. They're just completely blind, and they can't see it. So we need to let them see. Anyway, have a great day. Happy Monday. See you later.